As I'm walking down the beach, I'm seeing that the sun's more and more being swallowed up by these clouds. Very, very dark clouds. And it makes me concerned that maybe I shouldn't walk too much farther and kind of go back. Or at least hang close. I could maybe walk in circles. You know, a lot of people go through life and they don't ever look up at the clouds, and they don't ever look at the obvious signs of impending possible rain or even storms. I don't see any lightning in the horizon, but it doesn't change the fact that it could be out there somewhere. And as dark as those clouds are, it's not just the time of day, because the sun, it would be a lot lighter than this normally anyway. And in very similar, metaphorically respectful, there's signs all around us every day of the Lord's return. He told us in Matthew 24 that the signs of his second coming, not of the rapture. The rapture is technically a signless event. And you might be thinking, well, why would we be seeing signs then if it's 7 years away? Well, have you ever gone into a department store in November and see Christmas decorations? You might be thinking to yourself, it's November, it's not Christmas. Well, the thing is, when you see all the Christmas decorations put up, you know that Thanksgiving's around the corner. And that's the same way it is with the rapture. We know that seeing all these signs, the rapture's soon. That means 7 years from now will be the fulfillment. Now, some of the signs obviously have not come in true. We're seeing a large convergence of signs everywhere. Back in the 80s, we thought we saw famine. We're seeing a lot more famine nowadays. And you might be thinking, well, it's not as bad as it could be. Oh, you're right. It's going to get worse during the tribulation. We're also seeing a setup for famine, which is all this flooding going on around the world. I know that flooding is not part of the end time signs, but when you flood a field and destroy its crops, that is setting up famine. There's also pestilence. Like, I just had to deal with a few bugs. That's not really much of a pestilence. But pestilence could mean bugs. It also means viruses and other pathogens. So, is that happening? Is there more talk of that than ever before? I mean, I grew up every year there was another scare, like, oh, we got the Ricola scare. I remember that one because I thought it was, I can't remember what it really was, but it sounded like he was saying Ricola. And the anthrax scare, and there's been scares forever, but I think they really pinched a nerve in 2020. The other signs we could see are, there's several. If you want to see a full list of signs, look at Matthew 24. Then if you want to see where they're played out, look at, I think it's Revelations chapter 3 is where it starts. If you take Matthew 24 and the book of Revelation, you can find out it's almost parallel. It's like Jesus warned us of all these things that are coming. And then you see the seals, releasing the horsemen of the apocalypse. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like Jesus told us this way, and then he told John even more metaphorically the future. So it was like, it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. So yeah, I would definitely parallel the two things. Like, start with Matthew 24, and then get Revelation out, and I think around chapter 3, start paralleling all the things that are going to happen in the future. So Jesus was speaking of all the signs of his second return, which is after the 7 years tribulation. But right now, we're seeing signs. We're seeing the shadows of the future, so to speak. You got to remember that when we cast a shadow, the light is the source of the energy that's producing the shadow, and the shadow is in the opposite direction of the light. Revelation, the light's at the end. Like the light at the end of the tunnel, it's Jesus Christ coming at the end of the 7 years. That's why the shadows of Revelation are being cast upon us right now. You might be thinking, well, we're hearing of wars and rumors of wars. Yep. There is a saying in the Watchman community. I guess I'm a watchman, but I don't look at it as a title of like, look at me, I'm a watchman. Let me put it on my resume. As I am watching the signs, I am watching and warning. But the signs that we're seeing all around us all the time with wars, there's a saying that says, when the bombs go down, we go up. It's not in the Bible, but there's a theory that when the nuclear war does happen, that you might be thinking, well, is there going to be a nuclear war? Well, Joel talks about it. The locusts are real locusts, that's fine. But oftentimes, prophecies have a trifold effect. They're talking about something now, they're talking about something in the future, and they're talking about something at the end. So, when Jesus predicted certain things, people go, that happened already. Really? Jesus said some things that happened, true, and they did happen in 70 AD. But we haven't put an end to sin. And then people want to go metaphorical with that. Oh, well, Jesus ended the sin in my life. Really? No, it doesn't say put an end to sin in your life. It says put an end to sin, period. So, Daniel prophesied that when the Ancient One comes, he will put an end to sin. End of discussion. A lot of people that don't read the Bible carefully are thinking that we got to go through the tribulation. I found out, just from talking to most of those people that I talked to, they're also the people that don't trust in the salvation of Jesus Christ, the finished work that he did on the cross. They believe that they had to add works to it. And once you add works to it, you're no longer trusting in the salvation that Jesus gives. So a lot of people that believe in the return of Christ instead of the rapture, they're going to be the first ones that are going to accept the Antichrist, because he's going to come, he's going to look like the Christ. The word Antichrist has been misunderstood. Anti, in the original Greek, is pseudo. If you know what pseudo means, it means like a fake. You know, like I would use the word pseudoscience, fake science. It's a fake Christ. He is the person that's going to come and fool everybody thinking he is the Messiah. He's going to unite the world against the holy true God. So for those people who think that you can work your way to heaven, I beg you, read Romans 10 verse, I read Matthew too anyway. Read Romans 10:9. If you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And then read the gospel in 1 Corinthians 15 verses 1 through 4. They'll tell you exactly what the gospel is. And then you might be thinking, well, I do all that stuff, and nope. As soon as you say and or plus or also, that you're not trusting the gospel. You're not trusting in the finished work of Jesus Christ. There's many religions that believe you have to do sacraments every week, that you have to be good, your good has to outweigh your bad. That's not how it works. My good will never outweigh my bad. You might be thinking, well, gosh, you must be a bad person. No, it's not like that. We do sins all the time. We just don't realize that we have selfish ambitions. Humans are selfish. There's three things that we got to look out for and try to avoid. And this is the things that cover most of the sins. So if you're going, well, is this a sin? Is this a sin? Well, does it fulfill these three things? I mean, I've had people all my life ask me questions that I'm like, well, does it fulfill these three things? Like, well, the Bible doesn't say, like, say masturbation's wrong. Well, let's look at what the Bible does say. There are three things we need to avoid, and does masturbation fill in one of those things? I'm just saying, for example, the lust of the flesh. Well, yep, there we go. We nailed it. The lust of the eyes and the pride of life. Those are three things that God hates. Those are three things that all sin is basically wrapped up in. Every sin that you can see in the Bible is wrapped up in those three things. So if there's a modern thing that you think the Bible doesn't address, ask yourself, does it fulfill one of these three criteria to be in sin? The lust of the flesh. You might be thinking, well, I have to eat. That's the lust of the flesh. No, you don't understand the word lust. That's a necessity. Lust is a luxury. That's why we get the word luxury from. Lust, luxury. It's something that's excess. It's something we don't need. We crave, but we don't need. I crave food, so to speak, but I don't crave cocaine. I crave to ingest things in my body, but not things that are harmful. Some people do. So the lust of the flesh could include cocaine. It can include marijuana. Those things that your body does not need, but, well, you may have made them dependent upon it, but a normal functioning body does not need those things. The lust of the eyes and the pride of life. So if you are so prideful of your position at work, you might want to humble yourself before you are humbled. If you're so prideful about your house, your beautiful wife, your beautiful car, all these beautiful things that you think you have. You know, like, that's why I hesitate on making my YouTube videos sometimes, because I don't want to be like, look at me, I just got this, look at me, No, I just want to share with people what the wonderful, beautiful things out there that are. Like yesterday, I felt like I was, you ever overate? I got 3 packages at one time, and I felt like I enjoyed. But I also want to make sure you understand that, hey, if you are looking for something like this, it's out there. I found a channel, for example, that is a guy who does a lot of robots that I've never even heard of. And every now and then I come across a lot of these on AliExpress, but I never could find anybody that speaks English to tell me, are these good or are these a piece of crap? Because I don't want to spend $25 on something that looks cool, and when I get it, it falls apart. I've had that happen. I bought this like kind of Lego base system. It's a, construction block base system robot that looks really cool in the picture. And it puts together fun like a model kit. But it falls apart at the tip of the hat. It can't even stand up. I'd have to like glue it together to get it to stand up because the joints on it are so weak. So, you know, I wish somebody would have told me that that was a bad thing. That's why I make my videos, to tell you, is this good or is this bad? He also makes those videos. And I'm like, oh, thank you, because I think these robots look really amazing. So am I breaking the thing by the lust of the eyes? Well, am I not feeding my family? Am I breaking other things? You got to also look at that. We can enjoy pretty things as long as we're not let me put this. Okay, if I bought every single robot on there, I would be starving to death for the next month or two. So you got to also use some wisdom with that. I mean, crack cocaine ain't cheap, for instance, and you don't need it. Now, it's not like we can't have a little bit every now and then, like maybe some chocolate. We can't have chocolate. That's lust of the flesh. This is where you have to ask God for wisdom. And James says, if you humble yourself, resist the devil, he'll flee from you. Well, that's one thing that would help you out. Also, if you ask God for wisdom, he gives to all men without basically, he doesn't hold back. He will give you that wisdom. Sometimes I do pray, like, God, should I get this? Should I do that? And the thing is, as long as it's not causing you to sin, slip up, fall into lust. There's things also I've seen online that, like, I don't go to HLJ.com anymore, because every time I do, the splash page is full of weird anime. I don't know how to explain it. Like anime bikini girls statues. That doesn't cause lust to me, but it's cringy. I'm like, okay, this is just weird to me. But evidently, yeah, there are people out there that elicits lust in them. So I don't buy that stuff, no. I've never looked at a robot and go, nope. So while I'm saying the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, you also need to use a little bit of wisdom as well. So, you know, if you can't live without chocolate, yeah, you might want to take a break. But a little chocolate every now and then is not going to kill you. Now, I'm not saying that's true for like sex or other things like that. I think we all know the difference between chocolate and sex. I think we know that. Some people may not, but I think most of us do. So, thank you for joining me today. I just wanted to talk about how people ignore these signs, and if I kept on walking down there like I normally do, I don't know, by now, all this talking I've done, I could have made it down there. But then what if it starts thunderstorming, or what if it starts pouring in rain? Do I really want to get caught in that? Because look how the sun was at the beginning of my video about, 14 minutes ago. And now it's been engulfed by the clouds, and the clouds are moving this way. And that means those dark clouds are coming toward me. So it must be a northern wind, or northbound wind. Alright, so I am going to walk in circles for a bit, listen to my podcast, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day today. It's Thursday. It is Thursday the 13th. I hope you guys have a thrilling Thursday today.